Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our program tonight. And we are back in session. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mom's Night In.
Hello.
It's Tuesday. Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tanya May Avon. I am your host for tonight's Mom's Night In. And ladies, I'm getting some feedback on somebody's.
Yep. It's me.
Okay. Thank you. So, hello, everyone. Once again, my name is Tanya May Avon. I am the host for Mom's Night In. So, welcome. It's the best night of the week, Tuesday nights, where we come together and just share the goodness of God in places we don't always think to see Him in, or even when we're going through, we don't see the goodness there. But as we look back and reflect, I'm blessed every week. These women say something to just inspire me and to encourage me. And so it's March. Happy March, everyone. A new series. March is supposed to come in like a lion and out like a lamb, I believe. So
yes,
we have high hopes for March. we have really, really high hopes for March. But hello, Markeisha, and hello, Shira. And Shira, tomorrow's a big day for you, right, ma'am?
It is. It's my birthday.
Shira's birthday.
Oh,
birthday.
Hey.
I got it mixed up. I thought it was today. I was planning my schedule tomorrow, and I saw Shira's birthday, and I said, "Hi, happy birthday!" It's like, no, it's tomorrow. We're still give a shout out today. Happy early birthday! We love you. We hope you have an amazing day celebrating you.
Yes,
I appreciate the early love.
Yes, and
March
good evening.
Birthdays rock.
Yes, they do.
You have a March birthday too, Markeisha?
I do. The 21st.
When is yours? I'll see.
That's right.
Yes, wonderful. So we will be celebrating all week or all month, I should say. We're celebrating our month.
Yep, all month.
And so, hello to those that have joined us. I saw Carmen come on. I'd say Tiffany Green has welcome back. It's good to see you, Tiffany. And Darlene is back again. Darlene Henderson, welcome. We have one of our guests for this month. Yes, Terry Levy is going to be joining us. So, hello, Terry, and thank you to all that are joined. If you haven't said hello, just jump in on the chat. Say hi. Let us know. If you're a first timer or if you're returning and where you are, where you're joining us from. We do have a great show. It's difficult. So we're kicking off the Miscarriage series. And what we're learning and what we talked about even as we've been preparing, that it's more common than you think, but you just don't know because we don't openly share.
Yeah.
This is something that just people that you have known for years could have experienced it because you've never talked about it. You would never know.
That's true.
Yeah. So we are bringing this conversation definitely to the forefront tonight and just have some courageous moms who are coming to just share their story. So if you do know someone who has suffered a miscarriage or loss of a child or any kind of loss, honestly, we know that these series about loss really do transcend the type of loss because the spiritual truths are the same. But it's different. But I do know, having experienced it myself as well, I do know miscarriage is definitely a different kind of grief and a different kind of loss there. So
absolutely.
I'm excited about our guest. And why I'm excited about our guest for tonight, we did the infertility series 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And her pastor and her first lady watched one of our shows and called me the next day and was like, I have to connect you with someone from my church. She's been struggling with infertility. So me and Shonda connected 2 years ago.
Wow.
And so to have her come back, knowing that, again, a series that we did 2 years ago was just ministering and encouraging to her back then, and then have her come back and even share, that story as she was going through a lot of that, having her come back and share her story is a blessing. So I'm going to say goodbye to you ladies. And Markeisha, if you could bring out our guest for tonight, we will go ahead and get started.
I certainly
Thank you.
can.
Bye.
Bye.
And here is our guest.
Hi.
Hi, Shonda. How are you?
I'm good. I almost started crying with that intro. Oh my goodness.
Isn't it crazy?
It is. And you don't you think about it, but you really don't. Like
Mhm.
it's been 2 years and I can't even believe it.
Yeah.
A great 2 years though.
Yes, we have. Yeah, it ended the gift. What God was preparing you for is amazing, and I can't wait to just share your story. But again, everyone, this is Shonda Smith, our guest for tonight, kicking us off. And again, why she's so special. We've been texting. I think I met you for the first time in person at the anniversary service. I think earlier, maybe it was probably mid last year. So we had been kind of just texting for about a year and a half before we actually met. But again, just connected through this ministry. So thank you for your courage to come and share your journey with us. So ladies and gentlemen,
having me.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to ask you just to go ahead and just do a quick introduction of yourself. Just tell the people who you are, what you do, a little bit about yourself before we get into it.
Sure. So my name is Deshonda. My family and friends lovingly call me Shonda. I work in HR currently for a solar company. And I have been married for 8 years. My husband and I have just celebrated being together for 12 years, and we have a 5-month-old little baby.
Yes, a 5-month-old sweet baby. And we'll see. I think, Markeisha, you want to show the pictures of her sweet family, her husband and her son. He is just adorable. And again, when you know someone that has been praying and believing God, and just when I got the message that you were expecting, it was just like, just thank you, Lord. Thank you.
7 years. But you know what? God is faithful. So we just thank God every day. When I look at him, I just thank God. 7 years in the making, but it happened.
Yeah. So there they are. Beautiful family. All right. So let's get right into your story. I'm going to open us up in prayer and then we'll get right started. Okay.
Yes.
Dear Heavenly Father, God, I thank you so much for this evening, for this Mom's Night. And Lord, we thank you for Shonda, God. We thank you for connecting us 2 years ago and bringing us to this point. You already knew even back then that she would be a guest on our show. You knew the story and the journey that you had her on, God. So we're grateful. Even from back then, we thank you for answering our prayers from years ago, God. We thank you for your faithfulness. So we just invite you into our conversation. We pray for those that may be watching who may have suffered a miscarriage or any kind of loss. So we just pray that we would say something would just minister to them tonight, and that would just be a blessing of comfort and healing. Bless all of our technology, everything that we use for this show to go out, that every word would go out, nothing will be lost. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. All right. So good evening. I see people still joining. So welcome. We thank you so much for joining us. I see Witty Coat is on as well.
That's
good
my
evening.
sister.
Welcome, sis. And I see Nicole is on as well in Chester. So thank you. She's another faithful guest who joins us almost every week. So we thank you for joining. And anyone else to come, we'll greet you as we can, but we're going to definitely get right into Shonda's story. But I just want to talk about Faith-Filled Moms. If this is your first time joining us, we are a community of moms. We provide, through this show, we provide biblical and emotional support, content, and resources to bring hope, encouragement, inspiration, and information to women who are facing difficult seasons in life. And what we say, each of our topics every week is a difficult season. And so miscarriage for a lot of women can be a season of years going through, as you'll hear from Shonda's story as well. But we really just want to provide a safe space to be able to talk, to be able to share, to be able to encourage. We definitely stand on the word of God that says we're overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So we invite women each week to come and share their testimony, to be able to continue to overcome, but more importantly, to be able to help someone else who may be going through what they have already been through. So Shonda's full story will be published on Faith-Filled Moms tomorrow at our website, which is faithfilledmoms.org. So if you have not done so already, please go to our website and log in and just leave us your email address. And we will definitely make sure you get her blog first thing in the morning. It comes first thing in the morning every Wednesday. So faithfilledmoms.org. If you could just leave us your email address, we'd be so grateful. And then not only that, in the future, you'll get the information about future shows. You'll get the link to each show sent to your inbox. So you never have to look for us on Facebook or YouTube. You can just find your email, click on the link, and it takes you right directly to the show. So faithfilledmoms.org, please go ahead and connect with us. We would just definitely love to have you join our community of people. So I see Rosalind is on. Good evening, Rosalind. And I see Terrence is on. Yes. so welcome. I know it's his story too. So
Yes.
welcome. So thank you so much for joining. I do see Lisa Moore is here from South Carolina. I know she has joined us again. So North Carolina, yes, we're up and down the East Coast and hopefully Midwest and West Coast as well. We hope that we have just a number of people that are joining to just be encouraged tonight. Hi, Shannon. Welcome back as well. Shannon Davis is with us again. So again, we will get right into your story. So I want to ask you,
Yes.
talk to us, introduce us to your early life. And throughout these stories, typically when you're dating and married and you're often talking about starting a family. So talk about what that was like for you and kind of what you and your husband were planning and your goals, what were for your future family.
So we met each other in December of 2011 at work. And I could tell you at that time, I was 22 years old. I had just moved out on my own, got my first apartment, and I was not looking for anybody's boyfriend, husband, any of that. I wasn't looking for, having any kind of children at that time or anything. I was really just trying to, like get myself together, I had just moved out from my mom's house and I was just trying to like find what my identity was and kind of what I wanted to do, just essentially with my life. I know I wanted to go back to school, just a bunch of different things. And so I met my husband the first day at work.
Oh, wow.
And I said to myself, the very first day we were there on training, and I said to myself, I'm not here for that.
You were attracted. You saw him, was like, there could be something, but yeah.
I did. And he had on a purple shirt. I tell this story all the time. He had on a purple shirt, a purple button down, and purple is my favorite color. So I like immediately when I saw the purple shirt, I was like, oh, he's cute. And then in my mind, I was like, we're not here for that. We're not here for that. We're here to work.
Wow.
And so I really didn't like say anything to him and like give him like the time of day at all. I was there for work. I sat in the front.
It's about business. That's it.
And I'm like, I'm not paying him any mind. And he would always talk to another girl there. And so I thought they liked each other. Well, she said to me, well, he talks about you all the time and it's really annoying. And I was like, oh. So I'm like, okay. So I didn't want to say anything. So I just kind of like talked to him just like about work stuff a little bit to see like if he would say anything. And my friends and I were having a New Year's Eve party for our first apartment. And I invited him and he came. And after that, we were inseparable. We were together every single weekend.
Wow.
I had like some health issues, and he was just so supportive during that time. And, we started taking things serious and started dating in February of 2012. And we moved out. We got our first apartment together. After that, we're just going through life. Got a car together. Then got engaged in 2014, got married in 2015. And at that time when we were getting married, we were like, okay, maybe we should talk about this whole wanting to have a kid thing at this point. Like, let's see what's going on with that. And so I know I didn't want to do it like our first year of marriage, because I was like, let's spend that first year, with us, just spending time with us, before we bring a child into the world, and then it's the three of us.
But it said this is I'm trying to follow your schedule. This is 2014,
2015.
Yeah. Okay. So this is 10 years ago. We're talking right now.
Yes. And so we decided that we would maybe try after a year of marriage. So we started trying in 2016, and we didn't get pregnant until 2017. I don't know if you want me to start going into that.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, you can.
We didn't get pregnant the first time until 2017. In July, we took a trip to Virginia Beach with two of my best friends. We had such a good time.
Were you planning? Was this a plan?
We were planning, yes.
Okay.
But what's so crazy is we were planning, and I didn't even think when we got back home, I was like, I think I'm pregnant. Like it was just a feeling. And I'm like, I know we were trying, but then even when you're trying, when you look at a test and it like pops up positive, you're like, oh, it's like still a surprise. And so that was very surprising, even though we were actively trying
But
to
you're trying,
have a
but not
child.
expecting. You're thinking,
Right,
right? Okay.
right.
Okay.
Because we had started in 2016, and so now we're at 2017. So, we were just trying to see what happened, and we ended up getting pregnant. I remember I went to Carter's, and I like got like some onesies, and
Love
I
that
think I still
story.
have one
Love
of them.
that. Oh, wow.
I do. I still have one. It's yellow, and I actually should have washed it and put my son in it, but I never even thought about it. But I got, the onesies, and I like set it up. And we were in our apartment. I like set it up, and I like grabbed my camera. I'm like, I'm going to surprise him, and do the whole thing that you see on like YouTube or like Instagram where everybody's like, well, let's just, surprise, their partner. And so I did that. And his first words when he saw it, because it was a blue onesie and it was just one that I picked, he was like, are we having a son? And I was like, I don't know. It's like, we just found out. I don't know what would happen. But that sticks with us so much.
Yeah.
Because when we found out we were having our son, that it was a boy, we both went back to that moment, we're having a son. So it was just a full circle moment to just think about it.
But then, that's why I keep asking in terms of time, because you're finding out you're having a son in 2023, but this took place, you're saying 2016, right?
2016, 2017.
Yeah. Wow.
So we were already like manifesting it. And I have brothers. I have 3 brothers and I have 4 sisters. But I don't have any older brothers. All my brothers are younger than me. I have older sisters, 2 of them. And so I always wanted an older brother. And I said, when I have kids, I hope I have a boy first, because I would love for my son to be older than my daughter so that she could experience having an older brother, because I didn't get that experience. So for it to come full circle like that is just amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
Now
it's interesting when we say that. A lot of times you tell a story and you're going to tell a story within 60 minutes, but you can't imagine, again, 6 and 7 and 8 years of your journey that people don't understand of, and maybe obviously some do that have gone through that, but the fact that on this side, it's easy to say looking back, but when you're in the midst of it and waiting and experiencing those kind of disappointments as you're going to, be sharing, it just mentally, it kind of just weighs on you. It kind of weighs on you, and just definitely opportunities and times where you can just, question God about, why. So I just want to say really quickly, I see my mother-in-law is on here as well. So Eunice Farrell is on. So thank you, Mom, for joining. I see Marie Taylor has joined us. Good evening. And your aunt is on, Rebecca.
Oh, is she? Hi.
Yes, I want to make sure you knew your aunt was on. Yeah. So talk to us. So you find out you're pregnant. You buy the onesies again. I think I did the same thing, going to Carter's, and I think it was Oshkosh Bagosh back then. And so buying the clothes. So you had that. You're excited. You share with your husband. You share with your parents and his parents. And then what happens?
So I don't remember the day that we told my mom or his mom. I remember when we told my aunt who's on, my grandmom, and my dad. My dad's birthday is in August, and so is my grandmom's. His birthday is the beginning of August, and we were going over my aunt's house to see my dad and like give him a birthday gift, and obviously to tell him. And so I think we gave him like some booties or something like that. And we told them, and they were so excited because on my dad's side, I'm the oldest grandchild. I started the family. I like to tell them that I started the family.
That's a special role.
So I'm the oldest grandchild. So I would, I was so happy in that moment to be able to, be pregnant with the first great grand, And so I remember telling them, and we were all excited. And my husband and I went home that evening. I remember going to sleep because all this was on a Saturday. I wake up Sunday morning, and that's when I wake up and I'm like, something, it doesn't feel right. And I was like cramping real bad. So I'm like, let me just run to the bathroom and just see what's going on. And it was early in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw that I was bleeding. I was like, okay, something isn't right. So I woke up and I told woke my husband up and I told him, and I'm like, we need to go to the emergency room so we can figure out what's going on. So I ended up going to the hospital, actually the same hospital where I had my son. And I sit down in triage, and I'm like, at this point, crying hysterically because I don't know what's going on. And I remember saying to the lady, she was like, taking my blood pressure. And she was just like, oh, your blood pressure is really high. But in my mind, I'm thinking like, well, yeah, I'm sure it is because I'm very upset.
I'm in a crisis. Yeah.
And so I was like telling her, what was going on. I was like, oh, I just found out that I'm pregnant, and I don't know how many weeks, but I woke up this morning, the bleeding and the cramping and things like that. And I'm trying to tell her all of this in the midst of like all of the tears. And I remember going back into like the room, just with like the curtain in front of you. And they wanted to do a pregnancy test, and then they wanted to do an ultrasound to see if they saw anything. And I think they also drew some blood so they could check like your HCG levels. And they said when they did the ultrasound, they didn't see anything. And then when my blood work came back, my HCG levels were like dwindling down. And so they were like, this is most likely a miscarriage, and it was just basically make sure that you follow up with your OB to make sure that everything, dispelled, and sent me on my way.
That was it.
Yep. Sent me on my way. And so I had like left there just distraught, trying to figure out what they just told me, what is happening.
No information, right? No,
really nothing. Nothing. It was just a follow up with your OB. And so that was difficult because this specific miscarriage that I think about this one often because this one was different than the other ones. And I feel like when it was happening, my body was actually like contracting to like dispel, I don't know what you would call it then, at a fetus or an embryo at that point. But it was way different than the other ones. This one, I like was in a lot of pain through it, not just with my body, but also like, emotionally and mentally. It was just a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's confirmed a miscarriage. I want to ask you about this grieving process. Again, taking all this in consideration, you're trying for about a year, the excitement of realizing you're pregnant and telling everyone and buying things. Yeah. And then in that instant, having it all taken away. Talk about what those after, because there's always certain situations where there's a before and an after. So talk about the after of kind of this traumatic experience for you.
I remember just like laying in bed and crying a lot. And I remember my husband was really upset too. And we spoke to our really good friends, and we were just telling them what was going on because they knew that we were, actively trying and, really wanting to have a child. And so, we leaned on them and tried to, lean on each other. But I don't think at that point that we really knew or, really could support each other in the best way that we could. Knowing what I know now, I think we definitely could have done a better job, just supporting each other. But we were both just upset, and just kind of distraught. And so I remember, feeling that way. And I tried to not let it bother me for like a long period of time, but it definitely still affected me. And it was just a going to work, coming home, in the bed kind of thing. And that was just like my routine for a little while. I didn't process it in the best way. I really didn't talk about it. like how I'm talking about it now.
Yeah.
And so I gave myself a few days, and I just tried to like pick myself back up. I tried to tell myself, you know what, we'll just try again. It is what it is. And try to just like push that to like the back of my mind. Because dealing with the hurt in that moment was just a lot. So, and I think that for the other ones too, I don't think that I properly handled them until I started going to therapy.
Okay. So I want to ask you about that because there were multiple miscarriage. So talk about that second and the third one, because there was something even interested about the third miscarriage. So share just kind of really at a high level your experiences with those subsequent miscarriages after that first one too.
Absolutely. So the second and third one, we didn't talk to our family about those.
So they didn't know you're pregnant at all.
Because what happened was, what I decided was, we're not going to say anything when we do find out until we have an ultrasound in hand. We've been to the doctors, they hear the heartbeat, they say, everything is fine. Because what I didn't want to do was tell them and then have them be disappointed like they were before.
Have to go back and say
hard
longer,
Yeah.
Because the whole family has excitement, especially when you're first out. But anytime you're pregnant, your family's excited. So, not my sister's coming next week back. Remember you're pregnant, and then they come back, and it's almost like, what do you say? I see Darlene saying it's very traumatizing. It is. It's like,
yes,
every single experience is different. Every single person processes it different. Even now, as I'm talking to you, I'm still like, oh, what do I say? What to say? It is,
and you don't know what to say. And a lot of times, when people don't know what to say, I would just say, don't say anything, because a lot of times you could say something and think that you're helping. And in that moment, it's just not a help. People have said to me, you know what, miscarriage is just so, it's so common. So, or you'll get pregnant again. It'll be fine. You'll get pregnant again. And no one wants to hear that in that moment when they're going through it. And so that was one of the reasons, again, why I didn't want to share. So the second one happened, and we didn't say anything. The doctor said that they thought it was a chemical pregnancy, which is just basically with a chemical pregnancy, you find out very early. I was finding out every time that I was pregnant, I was finding out when I was about 4 weeks. And so a lot of times at that moment, women don't find out they're pregnant as early. So you may have a miscarriage and you may just think it's your cycle coming on. And so I had the chemical one. I want to say that was 2018. And during that time, with the chemical pregnancy, or right after that, is when I'm like, okay, something is not right. Something is not right. And maybe we need to like go to the doctors and see like what's going on. And so we visited our first fertility clinic. And I chose this place because they were affiliated with the OB that I was seeing at the time. And they were like, this doctor has, been in practice since 89. And I'm like, oh, wow, I was born in 89. So maybe that's a good sign. And so I went, they did like some workup on my husband and I, but I just didn't feel like it was just like good bedside manner at all. And
especially when you need that
yes,
in this kind of situation.
I need a doctor that has good bedside manner. Like I can't. And so they said, we're going to start off with a process called IUI, which is just basically, it stands for intrauterine insemination. So I had to take some medicine at that point. For a few days, they tracked my cycle. And then my husband would give a sample. They would then do what is called a semen wash. And then they gave me a trigger shot, and then they would just inseminate that. We did that once with this place, and it didn't work. And that was upsetting because in my mind, this is going to work the first time.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to work. And I'm like, there's no issue. And so it was disappointing because I think I kind of like built myself up to like, oh, this is
higher
happening.
hopes, right?
Like
The hopes
I gave
are,
myself,
yeah.
I was completely let down. And so I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like we need to take a little break from this because we would track for like months at a time. I'm tracking ovulation. I'm tracking my cycle. I'm eating.
And it's such a wave. It's such an up and down roller coaster.
Very much so.
Especially when you're ovulating and you're trying, and then you get your cycle and you realize not again, and you know you're going to have to wait to 30 days. So it's such an up and down experience.
It's very up and down when you're trying. And I'm like taking this supplement. I'm buying this at the store because the girl on YouTube said to buy this, and she said that she ate this and she ate that and she did that and she got pregnant. So
I got it. It's got to work for me.
I'm buying all the stuff. I'm making my husband take like vitamins. I'm like, they said that her husband took this too. So you take it and I'm gonna take this and then we're gonna see if this works. None of it worked. None of it.
All that money and
none
nothing
of it
worked.
None of it worked. And so I'm like, okay, let's take a break. At this point, we're like about to be in 2019. And we're like, you know what? We want to purchase our house. And so we're like, let's just take that time and our energy and focus on that. And if we get pregnant during this time, then we do. You know, a lot of times they say, if you stop trying, then it happens. So we were trying to do that kind of thing. Like we'll stop trying, or we'll say we'll stop trying and we'll see what happens. Nothing happened. We purchase our house and we move in September of 2019. The pandemic hits. And during that time, I'm like, okay, I think I want to try again because we're home. We're all quarantined and nothing else is going on. So like, let's get tracking this again. So what did I do? I buy more ovulation tests. I buy more of the pregnancy tests. And I'm like, okay, let's like get this together. And I'm like tracking things in my little app on my phone and still nothing. So I'm like, okay, let's try the fertility clinic one more time. But I
want to ask you a question before we get to that. I want to ask you, as you're doing this, what is your prayer as you're going through this? What kind of conversations are you having with God about everything that's going on with you?
I'm having a few different conversations with God during this point. I'm having conversations to God about why isn't this happening? We have been trying for so long and we're doing everything that you said. We're doing everything in the order that you're telling us. So we got married. We did that. So check mark. We got the house. Check mark. We have our 2 cars. Check mark. I graduated from school. Check mark. You know, we both work, you know, so we, you know, can support ourselves and our child, you know, financially. Check mark. So I'm checking off all these boxes because I'm a planner. And so I'm like, I planned all this out, God. I'm trying to tell him what the plan is. And I'm going over the
list. Why are you not on the plan with me, God?
I'm doing all this stuff that you're saying, you know, that we got everything together. So according to my plans, we're supposed to have a baby by now. So what's going on?
Right.
And then I'm seeing, you know, celebrities and, you know, people on social media, friends of ours, everybody's having kids. Everybody. And it came to a point where you could tell when someone that was a friend of ours got pregnant, they didn't really want to tell us because they knew that we were trying.
Yeah.
And so in their mind, they're like, I'm happy, but I don't really want to tell them because I know what they're going through. And I appreciated that because it definitely was hard. And you have to put on a face, you know, when someone tells you, you know, oh, congratulations. And you just put on a smile. Then I'm going home and I'm like in tears,
falling out,
you know, and I'm talking to God. I'm like, well, what is going on? Like, what am I not doing? Or what are we not doing? So that way we can have this child. Cause I'm just not understanding, you know, and then you see on social media where people have children and then they do, you know, bad things to these children. abuse them and things. And I'm like, look, you done gave so-and-so this kid and look what they done did. I would have never done that. Like, and I'm having these conversations.
You have these conversations with God.
What is happening?
Yeah.
What is happening? I'm like, we would treat our child, very well. They would come from a loving home. And my husband and I talk all the time about, the different things that we would do differently, versus what our, parents have done. Not that they've done a bad job. Both of our parents have done an amazing job with both of us. But, it's just different, Maybe I don't want to spank my child, just different things like that. So we would have these conversations. And then separately, I'm like talking to God. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, this is what the plan is. And this is the kid. I'm telling God what the plan is.
Right. And he needs to get on board. And he needs to get on board.
Like, well, since you're telling me what the plan is, I'll wait. And that's what it was. He was like, okay, this is the plan. So when you let me tell you or show you what the plan is, then we'll let this happen. But since you got it, I'm gonna let you rock out.
He's like, just go ahead. So go ahead. First, you're talking about going to the next fertility. Yeah.
Yes. So we went to the second fertility place. And I absolutely love this fertility clinic.
And you can shout them out. Feel free to shout them out.
Their names are Reproductive Medical Associates. They're in Marlton, or they're called RMA. I absolutely love
Marlton, New Jersey.
They have other practices up and down New Jersey. They have some in California, Florida. They're in a lot of places. And I told my husband, I was like, I found this other place. I'm going to make an appointment. And so he's like, okay. So we go and we pull up and I am hysterically crying because I just felt nervous for some reason. And this didn't happen at the first place. And it was a completely different experience. And I was also thinking about the third miscarriage that I never told my husband about. That happened a few weeks prior to us going to the fertility clinic. And I suffered that in silence. I took a test. It was faint. And to the ladies, if you are testing and you ever get a faint line and you want to confirm by blood work and your doctor don't want to get you in, tell them you have a faint line. Because every time I've done that, they have brought me right in and said, well, let's just do some blood work to see. And I'm like, let's do some blood work to find out. So they did blood work and my HCG level was low. And so they're like, I want to bring you back to see it because it's supposed to double every 2 days or something like that. So I go back, I let them draw blood again, and the numbers didn't double. They were going down.
Wrong way.
They were like, this is probably not going to be viable. And I'm like, okay. So I suffered that in silence. I didn't tell him anything until we were at the fertility place and they were asking for our history. And I had no choice. I had to say something.
Wow.
And so I tell him and I tell our doctor what was going on in between the tears. And our doctor, she was so amazing. She let me cry it out. She just handed me tissues and she just gave me time to like get myself together. So I was able to have a conversation with her and tell her what was going on. So we went over everything and she said, you know what, we're going to have a plan. So I said, okay. She wrote on the back of a piece of paper and she said, okay, this is what the plan is. We're going to do this first. We're going to do this second. We're going to do this. And it was just everything in order. And it started with us both getting blood work done, genetic testing done, because they're like, if you keep having these miscarriages, maybe it could be something, you know, a genetic marker that you both are carrying. We don't know. So let's check. She's like, my husband got his own workup. I got my own workup on, you know, different things. They go in and they check your fallopian tubes to make sure that they're right, that there's no issues, you don't have any like ovarian cysts or fibroids, different things like that. So she like checked everything. And I was very grateful for that. And I was very grateful for the plan.
Mm-hmm.
And so the plan was, we're going to do IUI. We're going to start that first. And I said, okay, let's do it. I'm like, we did this before. And she's like, we're going to try a different medication than what you tried before. So I said, okay, let's do it. So we did one round of IUI. I want to say this was 2022 at this point.
Okay.
So
I think that was right after we met too, if I'm not mistaken. So I feel like you were going to there after we met. Yep.
We did. It was May of 2022. Actually, we did
because we met in February.
Yep. We did one round, and that didn't work, and we went right into a second round. We're like, let's try this one more time. So we do the second round. That doesn't work. So our doctor was like, we have to have a different conversation. And I appreciated her for this. And she said, I don't want to have you keep paying for IUI, because the chances of it working at this point, the more you do it, the chances your percentage goes down and down and down. I think you guys should do IVF. And I said, okay. I wasn't ready to hear that. But I said, okay. She said, there is a grant that is available. I want you guys to fill it out, send it in and see what happens. We, if it doesn't work, you can always, do it, other options. So, but let's try this out because you can get a free cycle. So I said, okay, let's try it out. So I wrote a 4-page letter. I sent in all my medical stuff. I sent in pictures of my husband and I, and just basically told our story. Like, this is what's going on. And, everything. I laid it out. I was very detailed. We didn't get picked. We found out we didn't get picked. I want to say it was October.
And I want to ask you about this as well, because I know when we talked, you talked about how you thought the grant was somehow God's intervention, like he's going to come through. So talk about, again, we're experiencing the hope of something possibly happening, the disappointment of it not happening, and how you were able to respond to that.
So when she said something about the grant, I'm like, oh, we're getting this grant. We're definitely getting this grant. And no one could tell me that
after all God has taken me from, after all God has put me through, he has to come through with this grant.
Of course he's going to give us this grant. Are you kidding me? I'm already spending these people money on my IVF cycle in my mind, because I'm like, I know we're getting this grant. I know it. And but I didn't do my due diligence during that time. I didn't have a good prayer relationship with God during that time, where I should have been a little bit, more. But that's fault.
Real. That's real.
Just what it is. I just sent it off and I said a prayer about it and then I let it go. But I didn't continue to, talk to God about it and, pray on that and just ask him, okay, if you don't bless us with this, I know you'll bless us with something. I didn't do any of that. Looking back on it. And when we didn't get it, it was like a gut punch. It really was, when you think about it, because I'm like, I don't want to have to pay all this money for IVF. And I'm like, I'm thinking that this grant, God put this, gave this information to the doctor to give to me. Right. So I know we're getting it. And when we didn't, it's like,
why else would he have told me about this grant if I wasn't going to get
something else? I'm like, one more thing that we just don't get. And so at that point, I'm like, you know what? I give up. I'm done.
So when you say that, do you feel like it was a surrender give up, or tell me what you mean by that when you say,
when I say I give up, it's a surrender. Like, I had this plan, God, I laid it all out and I told you how I wanted this to go. And every point of this plan, nothing has went the way that I wanted it to go. So I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not planning a thing no more.
Yeah.
If you want this to happen, you're going to make it happen. And that's because I said, I'm done crying about it. I'm done being upset about it. I'm done with all of it.
Wow.
And so I had to turn that corner and just say, you know what? I yield. You got it.
That's major.
Yeah.
That's a
I'm like,
major
you
response.
got it. And when I did that, that's when my husband and I decided in December of 2022 that we were going to just, you know what, we're going to bite the bullet. We're going to do IVF. And we're going to pay for it because God's going to make a way for us to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about where this money coming from because I already know it's coming from God. We're going to get
you're in full faith mode at this point.
Full 100%. So I call the doctor and I tell them, where to go. We're going to do it. I'm going to look into this and this is what we're going to do to get this paid for. So they're like, you know what? We can get you guys in for the January cycle. And I'm like, cool, mark it down. Fill us in. So January 27th was our date. We're in December of 2022 at this point, and our date was January of 2023. So January comes. We're getting everything together. We got all our financing and stuff all worked out. Everything was smooth. Until about, I'd say maybe a week and a half before we were supposed to start. I get a phone call from the finance department at the fertility place. And they're like, the cost is $4,000 more than what you paid. And I was like, well, that can't be because I got this in writing how much this costs. So I know you're messing with me. The issue was I changed my health insurance. I had two health insurances. I had my own through my employer and I'm on my husband's. I took myself off of my employer's one because I'm like, we're going to do IVF where we have to, pay for it this way. So there's no point of me having two insurances. Well, my insurance through my employer was where we were getting the discount for IVF. And I didn't know that. So they're like, if you don't have this insurance anymore, it's going to be $4,000 more for the cost. And I'm like, I got to figure something out. And thankfully, I am HR for the company that I work for. So it's just a phone call to our broker and just say, hey, girl, I need you to put me back on this insurance pronto. And she's like, is everything okay? And I'm like, it will be as soon as you get me back on this insurance. And I had to let her know everything that was going on. She said, no problem. I got you. She got me back on the insurance. I called them. I said, listen, they're putting me back on the insurance. There should be no lapse. We should have no issue. So we should be able to start. That was the devil. He was trying me. But he did not win. So we were able to start on time because I would have been like, okay, here's another thing.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah.
Here's one more thing. So we started January 27th. And that was some of the hardest things that I've had to do was go through IVF. I thought that miscarriage was hard. Miscarriage and IVF are literally neck and neck for me.
Wow.
Because they both take on an emotional and physical it's toll on your body. It is a lot. It is a lot. And I didn't realize that when I was going through the IVF that I wasn't fully healed from certain things, from the miscarriage and things like that. I had to work through that through therapy when I was going through IVF because I started to think like, wow, okay, well, when I do get pregnant, what if it happens again and I have a miscarriage?
Yeah. And having to have that fear behind, on your shoulder the entire time.
And my therapist said one thing to me. She said, why do you keep having a self-fulfilling prophecy? You don't know what is going to happen. And every single bridge and every single obstacle that you have come up against, you have faced it.
And gone through it. Yeah.
And that happens.
Yeah.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Wow. What an interesting way to look at that.
Yeah. And when she said that, I said, you know what? You're right. I can't spend time thinking about what happened because if I continue to spend time and think about what happened, I'm going to stay there.
And that's in anything. That realization and that is a breakthrough for any situation if you stay there.
Yep.
Wow.
So we did an egg retrieval, which was a lot. And we got 14 eggs. I'm sorry. Out of those 14 eggs, they see what is mature. 7 were mature, and they like to see that at least, I think it's like 80% of the eggs that they retrieve are mature, and I had 50%.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. Is this going to work? I started those negative thoughts and stuff again. And I'm like, you know what? No, because I did my research and I know this is what happens because I'm a planner, like I told you. So I've done my research on IVF prior to us doing it. And the next day she told us, okay, out of the 7, 5 fertilized. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we got 5. And she's like, we'll call you back in like 2 weeks to let you know if all of them are genetically normal. I said, okay. She called us back in a week. All 5 are genetically normal. I said, thank the Lord.
Wow.
So she's like, do you want to know the genders? And I'm like, absolutely, I want to know. So we had 2 boys and 3 girls.
Okay.
They asked us what we wanted to implant. We had a boy and a girl. They grade the embryos. So we had a boy and a girl that was at the top grade. And I said, pick one of them. Pick one that's at the top grade.
You didn't want to know which one?
Mm-mm.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
So they picked a boy, obviously. We did the transfer on March 21st. And I found out that I was pregnant on March 31st. And I remember waking up that morning, going to get my blood drawn for them to let me know. And this was the calmest that I was walking into that place. I had never had such a peace over myself. And I had been praying this entire time, just asking God, like, your will is going to be done regardless, but I already know what it is. My family, my church family, everyone had been in prayer for us at that point. And I remember thinking like, wow, this date is, really significant. The numbers 331, that equals the number 7. We've been trying for 7 years. 2023 equals out to 7. So I'm like, what you doing here, God? Are you trying to show me something? And my son, even though he was born early, he was born in my 7th month of pregnancy. He weighed 3 pounds, 4 ounces, which equals 7. And so just
that's
thinking
amazing.
Thinking about all of that, God was completely in all of it.
7 is a number of completion. Yes. Yes.
So we were able to finally complete our family that we've always wanted, that we've been praying for, that we've been asking God for. And so what I realized was once I was done with my plan and I'm like, okay, I'm throwing my plan away. Here's my piece of paper is in the trash. Once I got on board with what God wanted to do, it happened just like that.
Wow. So I'm going to ask you, I'm looking at our time. We have about 3, I'm going to give you 2-3 minutes left. I want you to give closing words because I asked you when we first met, Shonda, what do you want people to know about your story and your response? Well, you could tell. What tell us in terms of everything that you've been through. And we did see someone, I think it was Shannon's daughter, Shannon Davis is on, she said her daughter is going through this right now. So her daughter and others like her, what would you tell someone who's going through what you've been through?
We may have a plan for our lives, and that's all well and good, but we have to learn, number one, to listen to God and his plan for our life. That's the most important thing. And when we yield to him and say, you know what, you got it, I'm going to follow everything that you do, everything falls into place for us. And that's just so true about every aspect of life. whether it's going through miscarriage, anything. If we sit back and we follow God's plan, we won't go wrong.
But the surrender is the key. Like you said, the surrender is the hardest thing. But
it is very hard, because you think that you know everything. You think that you know how your life.
You have a plan. You have a perfect plan that you've designed that's perfect for you.
And plans are good for certain things, like vacation, but nothing like
not your life like that.
You can't plan it. You can't. You can't. Because once I said, you know what, God, I'm done. I surrender to you. That's when everything fell into place the way it was supposed to.
Wow.
Now, that's not saying that, when we first started trying, if that same thing was to happen, if I just said I surrendered to him from the beginning, that we would have had a child then. No, we had it when we were supposed to, because God needed, first of all, I think he prepared us. Number one, I think he prepared us to, be in a settled space where we don't have to worry about struggling, financially, anything like that. So that number one. Number two, after he prepared us, he prepared me. He prepared my mind, which was me going to therapy, working through the things that I had to work through. And once that happened, all of this is just preparation for us to finally go through the process and then finally have our son.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say surrender to God, and also prepare yourself. You can prepare yourself in the midst of what you're going through. You can prepare your mind in the midst of what you're going through. You can prepare your body in the midst of what you're going through. Sometimes certain things can happen when it comes to miscarriage. There are certain triggers, for your body. So it could be you may need to lose a little weight. I had to do that. I was overweight at that time, so I lost 60 pounds. I had to get my mind right because of the previous miscarriages, things like that. So I went to therapy, just different things to prepare myself. And I think that's what happened. And that's why we have what we have now, the blessing.
The blessing, the gift, the gift. Thank you so much, Shonda, for sharing your story. And I told you, I know, Jay came early, and when we do a preemie show, we're going to have you back. And, there's more to your testimony as well. But thank you so much. I know this is deeply personal. Thank you to Terrence as well. And your family. I saw your dad on Casper Pool is on. So he's on as well. Yes. And I saw some other people join. Keisha, my sister Keisha's on here as well from DC. So welcome, Keisha, as well. I thought I said somebody else, but if I missed you, Emily Cannon's on, another guest that we had in this season. So if I missed you, I do apologize. But thank you, each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining us again, Shonda. Thank you for sharing your deeply, deeply personal story. I'm leaving tonight with surrender. That's on my mind. So
thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
I'll probably get off of here and I'll probably start crying. But no, just thank you for having me.
Yes.
This was a lot, and I finally feel that doing this was like my last, like I got it off.
Ooh,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I finally just and I think
God.
I needed to do that. And so I appreciate you giving me the platform. You and the other ladies have been so wonderful. And so I can't tell you how much that I appreciate even just us connecting.
Thank you. And to God be the glory. Thank you for that as well. So again, thank you. Shonda's full story will be online tomorrow at faithfillmoms.org. Please definitely, like I said, leave your email address and we'll have your story first thing in the morning, but it'll also be on social media. We'll share it. So please be sure to join us all month long. Again, if you know anyone who's suffering a miscarriage or struggling with having a miscarriage, please invite them to join, or any situation. Like I said, I know Shonda's story kind of goes through different things, but we want to say thank you again. Good evening, and we'll see you next week. God bless you.
Bye.